Welcome back to another crochet tutorial with Cozy Rosie UK, and today I am sharing with you how to crochet these soles. Now this is for a UK adult size 7 to 8, US size 9 to 10, or a European size of 40 to 42, which will fit up to a foot length of 10 inches. Now before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and of course the notification bell so that you never miss out another one of my crochet tutorials or patterns again. If you're looking to make a different size sole, you can find a link in the description box where you'll find the playlist for all of these crocheted soles that are available at the moment, and you can stitch up the ones that you need. Now the yarn that I'm using today for this pattern is going to be PaintBox Yarns Simply Chunky. Now this is a size 5 yarn and it's 100% acrylic. The reason I've picked the 100% acrylic is because of its easy care nature. It can be machine washed, if need be it can be tumble dried, and it is super easy care. And I think when you're putting something on the floor, even if it's inside, it does need to be washed on occasion. Now it does recommend a hook size of 6mm, and that is what we're going to be using today, is our 6mm crochet hooks. I've got my Furls Peppermint Swirl. It was a Christmas release I think a couple of years ago. I just love it. Now as an alternative, if you are looking to make these soles for some sandals, I'd recommend making 2 soles per foot, and perhaps using a twine on the bottom of the sole. Now this is 3 woven strands of twine, which makes it very similar to the size of the chunky weight yarn. And again, if you use a 6mm crochet hook, it won't be horrendous to work with and it won't be too tiring on your hands. I have quite a large ball of this, so it works really well for the base of those sandals. So gather all of your materials and let's get started on this size 7 to 8 in UK size, which is US 9 to 10, European size 40 to 42. So grab those materials and let's get started. So we're going to start by making a slip knot and placing that onto our hook. And we're going to begin by making a chain of 23. So we just yarn over and bring that hook through the loop on our hook to make our chain, and we do that 23 times. That was 1, 2, 3. Once we have our chain of 23, we're going to start by working into the second chain from hook, placing 2 US single crochets, which is the same as a UK double crochet. Remember that this loop on our hook never counts as a stitch or a chain. Here's our first chain. We're going to go underneath the top loop of our chain because we're going to be working on both sides of our chain today. So we start by inserting the hook into that second chain from hook underneath just the top loop. We yarn over and bring our hook back through. So we have 2 loops on our hook. We yarn over and pull through 2. We're going to work a second US single crochet into that same chain again. So reinsert our hook, bring our loop up, yarn over and pull through 2. We're then going to work 1 US single crochet into each of the next 11 chains. So again, we're working underneath that top loop only, just inserting our hook, yarning over and pull through both loops. And we do that 11 times. So that was number 1 and number 2. Work your 11 single crochets and I'll meet you in a moment. And 11. Once you've worked those 11 single crochets, we're going to work 1 half double crochet, which is the same as a UK half treble crochet, into the next 8 chains. So we yarn over the hook. Again, we're just inserting our hook underneath that top loop of our chain, yarn over to bring a loop up. You should have 3 loops on your hook, and we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And we're going to be making 8 of those all together. So that was number 1 and number 2. So work your 8 half double crochets and I'll meet you in a moment. Once you've worked your 8 half double crochets, you should still have 2 chains remaining before your slip knot or the end of the chain. Into this next stitch, we're going to be working 2 half double crochets into the same chain again. So we yarn over and insert under that top loop, bring our 3rd loop up, pull through 3, and we repeat that by reinserting our hook into the same chain to work a 2nd half double crochet. Into the last chain, right where our slip knot is, we're going to be working 4 half double crochets, and you'll notice that that will begin to turn our work because we're going to work back along the opposite side of our starting chain. So we yarn over the hook and insert into that final chain, yarn over, bring our loop up and pull through all 3, and we're working a further 3 half double crochets, so 4 in total, into that same final chain. And I'm going to start working over my tail and my slip knot in these last 2 stitches. So that's 3 and 4. Once we've worked those 4 half double crochets, we're going to start working along the other side of our chain. So as you can see, the chain on the other side looks like a cross, and we're aiming underneath those crossed yarns directly opposite the other stitch. So I'm going to also work over my tail at the same time, so there's less to weave in. Into this next chain, we're going to be working 2 half double crochets. So we yarn over the hook and insert through that cross, making sure that our tail is also placed on top. We yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and we're working a second half double crochet into that same chain again. So just reinsert the hook and pull through all 3 loops. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 8 chains. So again, we're looking for where that hole is underneath the chain, and then we're working 8 half double crochets, 1 into each of the next 8 stitches. So there's 2. So work your 8 half doubles. I'll meet you in a moment. That is number 8. So I'm going to put my tail out of the way so I don't need to work over that any further. We're then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 11 stitches. So again, we're working underneath the cross of where our strands are, and we're just inserting our hook, yarning over to bring up our loop, and yarn over to pull through 2. So we're going to work 11 single crochets. Once you've worked them, I'll meet you in a moment. And that is number 11. This brings us all the way back to where we started, and what we're going to do is into this last space here where we started, we work a further 2 single crochets to finish round 1. So that's 1 and back in again for number 2. To finish round 1, we're going to slip stitch to that first single crochet that we made by just inserting our hook underneath both loops of that first stitch, yarning over, pull through and straight through the loop on your hook. So at the end of round 1, you should have a total stitch count of 50, which is made up of 26 single crochets and 24 half double crochets. Going into round 2, we're going to start by making a chain of 1, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and that's here and throughout the pattern. We're going to start by making 2 single crochets into the same stitch as our chain 1. So we're just going to insert our hook back into where we had that chain 1 and work 1 single crochet and reinsert our hook into the same stitch again to work a second single crochet. We're then going to work 2 single crochets into the next stitch as well. So that's 1 and reinsert for the second one. We're then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 14 stitches. So work your 14 single crochets and I will see you in a moment. And 14. So once you have your 14 single crochets, we're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 8 stitches. So we yarn over the hook and insert, yarn over, bring a loop up, and this gives us 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And we're going to make 8 of these. So that was number 1. So we yarn over again for number 2, bring that loop up, so we've got 3 loops on our hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So make your 8 half double crochets and I'll meet you for the next part. Now this is number 8. We're then going to work 2 half double crochets into each of the next 4 stitches. So we're going to increase into each of the next 4. So we yarn over the hook and insert our hook underneath the next stitch, yarn over, bring our loop up and pull through all 3 loops. And we're going to be reinserting our hook into the same stitch again to increase the stitch count. We've got those 3 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3. So that was 1 increase. So that's 1 and 2 for the second time. And for a third time we increase again, 1 and 2, And for the fourth and final time, we're working 2 half double crochets again, 1 and 2. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 8 stitches. That's number 2. Once we've worked those 8 half double crochets, we're then going to work 12 single crochets. So work your 12 single crochets and I'll see you in a moment. Once you've worked your 12 single crochets, you should have 2 stitches remaining. You may also see your slip stitch. Ignore that, don't worry, and we're not going to work into that. Into these last 2 stitches, we're going to be working 2 single crochets each. So we're just increasing into those last 2 stitches by working 2 single crochets. That's 1 and 2. And again, into this final one, we're working 2 single crochets. As you can see, you've got my slip stitch here. There's my chain 1. And we're going to be slip stitching to join into that first single crochet that we made. So we yarn over, pull through, straight through the loop on our hook to complete round 2. So at the end of round 2, you should now have a total stitch count of 58, which is made up of 34 single crochets and 24 half double crochets. Going into round 3, we're going to start again with that chain of 1, which we don't count as a stitch, and into this stitch we've just slip stitched into, we're going to start by working 2 single crochets into that same as our chain 1. So we're just inserting and pulling up a loop for our single crochet. That's 1 and 2. We're then going to work 2 single crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. So that's 1 and 2, and again we do the same into the next 1 and 2. You should have 6 single crochets already. We're then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 14 stitches. So work your 14 single crochets and I will meet you in a moment. And 14. Once we've worked those 14 single crochets, we're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 10 stitches. So we yarn over the hook and insert, yarn over to bring up a loop. So we should have 3 loops on our hook before we yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. We're making 10 of these half double crochets. So I'll meet you in a moment once you've worked your 10 half double crochets. And that is number 10. Once you have your 10 half double crochets, we're going to work 2 half double crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. So we yarn over and insert for number 1, yarn over and reinsert for number 2 into the same stitch, and we do the same again. So we're working 2 half double crochets into the next stitch as well. So we've worked 2 more increases. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4, before we repeat working 2 half double crochets into each of the next stitches. Next 2 stitches, sorry. That's 1 and 2, and we do the same again in the next by increasing again. So that's 1 and 2. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 10 stitches. So work those 10 half double crochets and I'll meet you in a moment. Number 9 and number 10. We're then going to work 1 single crochet into each of the next 12 stitches. For this we're just simply inserting our hook to bring up our loop and pulling through those 2. So work your 12 single crochets and I'll meet you for our last stitch. And then for our final stitch that we have, we're going to increase again by working 2 single crochets into that stitch again. So that's 1 and 2. That was my dog Emily snoring again. So again, we're going to skip that slip stitch and the chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch into that first single crochet that we made. Yarn over, pull through, and straight through that loop on your hook. So at the end of round 3, you should now have a total of 68 stitches, which is made up of 34 single crochets and and 32 half double crochets. I just want to point out that you might look like your sole is turning ever so slightly. It's more to do with tension than anything. You can see that the center line is not straight. If we were to straighten that out and just kind of tweeze or encourage our stitches to lay properly, that goes away. It's just a tension thing where we change between the half doubles and the singles. So you can see already that's looking so much better. Once they're joined together to create an actual sole, it will look so much better, I promise. So we're going to go into our final round, which is round 4. And for this round, we're going to work exclusively in half double crochets. So we start with our chain of 1, and then into that first stitch, we work 1 half double crochet. So we yarn over and insert with our 3 loops and pull through all 3. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So that was 1. Oh no, sorry. So 1, 2, and 3. We're then going to work 2 half double crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. That's 1, and inserting back into the same stitch for our second stitch. And we're doing the same in the next, working 2 half double crochets, 1 and 2. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 24 stitches. So work your 24 half double crochets and I will meet you in a moment. Once we have our 24 half double crochets, we're going to work 2 half double crochets into each of the next 3 stitches. So that's 1 and 2. And again, an increase, so 1 and 2. And for a third time, we're going to work another increase. So we work 2 half double crochets again into that next stitch. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we're going to repeat those increases by working 2 half double crochets into each of the next 3 stitches. That's 1 and 2 for the first time, and again 1 and 2 for the second time, and for the third time 1 and 2. We're then going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the next 26 stitches. So work your 26 half double crochets and I will see you in a moment for our final stitch. And that is number 26. So that should bring you back to your last stitch, and where we're going to be working another final increase with 2 half double crochets worked into that last stitch. We can then make our final join by slip stitching it into that first half double crochet that we made. And I'm going to be fastening off by making a chain 1, and then with my scissors just cutting a reasonable tail. I'm going to then use my hook to bring that through and just make a little knot to tighten. And then we have our completed sole, and it's nice and wide and broad where it needs to be. I am going to grab a stitch marker and just place 1 stitch marker into where I've joined that final stitch, because we're going to need that to match up with the alternative sole that we make. If you're making my slouchy slipper pattern in this size, you do need to make a further 3 soles. So you need to make 3 more of these, because we're going to join them together in pairs to create a nice, soft, squishy sole. Thank you so much for joining me to make your very own soles. I'm going to go and give this sole a bit of a block to correct these stitches here and keep that sole nice and straight. See, I can manipulate it into there. I just need to hold it in that position. So thank you again for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you in the next one.